Hello, hi, see people coming in, brilliant. Let me just move my screen around so I can start seeing. Brilliant. I was just letting more people that have just registered. Dawn, you're online, which is good. I was literally just letting some last minute people who had registered, just accepting those. So yeah, here we are. So I'll crack on. There's loads to get through today as normal. I'm really going to keep it to half an hour. I will send this on afterwards as well. So just as more people are coming in, thank you so much for registering. As you know, I'm Lindsay, Park Lane Events. Welcome to the September webinar. I will send the replay out over the next 24 hours. If you want to take any pictures of the slides as we go along, if you want to share any on social media, then please do. If you want to share it within your teams, that's comments I'm getting back now that people are feeding back internally. And obviously give me any feedback. If there's anything you want to see in future webinars as well, then yeah, do let me know, just reach out. So I'm going to start sharing the screen straight away so we can crack on. Here we go. So share screen, this one. Share that. Hopefully you can see the Park Lane Events logo. I always start with this to begin with. Can you see that? Let me know in the chat if you can see the oh yes, Candice, you've raised your hand. Good to see you as well. I'll thank you, John T. Brilliant. Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much for letting me know. Let's crack on. So as I mentioned, September 22nd, 2022 conference and events webinar about speeding into the last quarter and into 2023. I obviously added onto the agenda the Queen's Passing and what this means to events in the 10 days of mourning and funeral day. That's what we're obviously in the middle of, so we're kind of finding our way, and then I've got a slide about that in a second. Update on enquiry turnaround times into the last quarter and availability for the remainder of the year. Staffing the busiest times in events of 2022, industry exhibitions update, and latest trends, and looking into 2023, which was sort of the original spec. So who's attending this webinar? You are here because, and this is where feel free to put in the chat, there are lots of different people attending. So either you're a corporate event buyer who I venue find for, and that's how I do the basis of the webinars, is to swap ideas, give you a bit of an update how I'm chatting to everybody. You might be a corporate event buyer who I network with, but you may book direct with venues or through another agency. So there's two main markets, I suppose, if you like, of people that have on my database, those that I'm venue finding for, and those that are in my general corporate network. And that's when it comes to the corporate buyers. So people don't have to book for me, but if I'm doing fam trips or in networking events and things, then that's a mixture. I'm not necessarily venue finding for all of the people on my database. Or so you may work for a venue group, venue consortium. So if there's any venues on here, feel free to say hello in the chat, if you can use the chat. And other people will then see that you're there, and hopefully that's set on, because normally people have said hello by now and I haven't seen any messages, so I'm not sure then if I've not got something correct on the chat. Hopefully you can use the chat. Yes, I may have given you a venue in the past, so that could be why you're on here as well. Oh, Katie, your chat is disabled. That must be something I've done, because that's normally on, and that was unusual that nobody's put anything on the chat yet. So yeah, Anna's raising her hand. So rather than me messing about in the settings, I don't know how to change that while I'm live, so I'm gonna have to do it without the chat and just carry on. Oh, good point. Put it in the question and answers, as Sophia has done. Thank you. Katie, yeah, we'll use the Q&A. So everyone just use the Q&A, and thank you. Right, so let's move that over there, and I can see that now. I'll have a look at my settings for future as well. You may also have, brilliant, everyone's using the Q&A. We're so used to this now, aren't we? You may be an agent or freelancer and part of my peer network. Again, that's part of my networking, but basically we're all here because it's so important for us all to keep in touch, communicate and support each other, which you are all doing here. Thank you with this, and supporting each other with events going forward. The first slide, if you like, the Queen's Passing and what this means to events in the 10 days of mourning and funeral day. Now, It's been really difficult, hasn't it? Waiting for announcements last week. Obviously, we're all initially in that shock, and you take it's a bit like COVID in the fact of what does it mean to you personally, then what does it mean on work and events, and then what work have we got to, additional work have we got to put into place in a very sensitive way as well. So we know now that the state funeral obviously will be on Monday, and that this will be a bank holiday. Now, once all that was announced, then we were able to make decisions. However, some decisions were made before then, which because they were going via different announcements. So over the just to sort of be clear, over the 10-day mourning period, the MIA have said with regards to moving your events and things, they're basically saying yes, try and do it, try and move it hopefully without any charge, and that's sort of the base of what we can do if we can do it. However, events can go ahead, and I'll just come on to that at the moment in a minute, but certainly as far as the bank holiday is concerned on Monday, then that's where most people are not going to be running their events. Now, on Friday, the announcements before we knew it was bank holiday, Conference News in the Association of Event Organisers were saying this, that military events will be banned on both days, and as in their own events, internal events, but otherwise things will carry on at organisers' discretion. So it was all a bit muddy waters, wasn't it, really? Then we got the update from the Department for Culture, Media and Sports, that's the government's guidelines, saying and this was on Friday before the bank holidays was announced, there's no obligation to cancel or postpone events and sporting fixtures during the national mourning period. It's at the discretion of the individual organisers. So again, this all kind of goes back to COVID in the fact of, if government is saying that, then cancellation charges will still be in place unless a venue is able to be flexible with that. Venues can't afford to be as flexible as they used to be, but it's unprecedented. It's another massive occasion here about what can we do. So then it mentions anything that's planned on the state funeral date, which obviously Monday. It's basically saying you can still run with them, but this was before the bank holiday was announced. And the biggest thing about bank holidays is all the schools are closed, and then that's the parents and everybody that's got to try and work around that. So in addition to the fact that people want to watch the funeral, or at least have that choice too. And this was further guidelines as well about venues. If they're state owned, then those obviously state owned venues will be closed, and then the privately owned venues, and this is this isn't great because it kind of says you could close throughout the mourning period, you could close on the date of the funeral, or not close at all. And it's like, well, that's the big question. What are we supposed to do? Most have stayed open, as we know, and it was just, while I was doing all the research, this is kind of the bits and pieces of what I was finding. Probably seen on the news about centre parks who do events, and of course they have the individual accommodation. They were going to close for 24 hours. They have now reversed that decision after the backlash. And I think this is where we see, with perhaps all good faith, decisions are made initially of, yes, let's close, everybody needs to leave, it's a massive occasion, but on the other hand, how practical is that really? And with somewhere like centre parks, they've got self-contained accommodation with TVs, obviously TVs and everything, and everyone has their own way of streaming online anyway. So there was a self-sufficient way where they could have said, which is what they've done now, just, not really doing the activities during the day, but of course you can stay. And I think it was more when you had people that were staying for 2 weeks that they were being asked to check out on the Monday morning, find somewhere else to stay, check back in on the Tuesday morning. And it's like, that's just not logistically right, is it? So yeah, but they've now reversed their decision. But I think it's a good scenario of where, in good faith, people are trying to make the right decisions, but obviously that one didn't work. Jonty, you're on from Pride of Britain, who kindly sent me what they're doing regarding the 10 days of mourning. They've halted all their social media campaigns, cancelled any planned sales days and their press party. And I think that's a really good example of, we've all seen the social media campaigns that have changed. We've all been very respectful. And even on Friday, I was like, do I put this out about the webinar that I'm adding in about the Queen? on the agenda, and it's like, well, for us, we're all still having to work around it and sort it out. So I thought I am still going to send that, because it was relative, and it's sort of live timing, isn't it, really? So yeah, I thought that was a great examples. And as we found, most venues are not charging cancellation fee if a new date is confirmed. So that's kind of the way. It's just 10 days, and then it's literally on the Monday, where well, obviously that's very different with the state funeral. That's pretty much when most people have wanted to change things. Just one thing I did read: the subsequent coronation of King Charles will be a bank holiday. So that is one thing I read. That's not been announced anywhere yet. And I think, well, I mean, it was obviously online on the government website, but one thing, I'm assuming they're not kind of saying anything about that, just because we'll all be like, oh my God, well, when's that going to be? And what does that mean? And blah, blah, blah. So I thought I will mention it just as a heads up. We all know things change, but that's how it stands at the moment. So then back to my original agenda. Oh, Nathan, I can see you're here from BNC. Thank you very much. Oh, I'm mentioning you in a second, actually. And Grove, Elliot, I'm mentioning you in a minute. I'm just looking at the chat here. Andra from Trafalgar St James, Lucy from Lucy Clare, Jodie at Edinburgh. Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much for for getting on the Q&A there. So updates on inquiries. So this was the original agenda, just keeping on time, about staff shortages. Not a lot has changed as far as emails coming back on out of office responses. There's a lot of people saying, we'll get back to you in 2 days. There's a high volume of inquiries. However, we are now seeing some really good responses, some quick response times. And one really good example of that is the Studio, who are based in Birmingham, Manchester, Leeds and Glasgow. They're a group of venues rather than hotels, and they're out of offices this, which is brilliant. We will get back, we will reply to you in 4 hours. And of course, that's the whole, we've got your message, we'll send your proposal as a, that might still be in 2 days, but at least it's like, great, we're in a process here. It's got a number to call, it's got their hours, it mentions their different locations, it's got their website, and looking forward to working with you. So I think this is a really good example of a venue that's working on it. And then going on to how this is going to work in this quarter, it is the busiest time. The biggest concern we've all got is how are we going to source, how are we going to facilitate all the events, with everywhere being so full, everywhere is pretty much fully booked. Where's the staff going to come from this? Now, this is a vacancy from a 5-star hotel in central London. In the last month, these are all the roles that they are advertising for. I've added on housekeeping because that's another one that's a big one everywhere. And it's not to concern anybody, but it is just to highlight not a lot has changed. The staff haven't suddenly arrived in the next quarter, and they're not going to suddenly arrive in the next quarter, and hotels are working as hard as they can. There are some that are fully staffed now, they are the minority, and there are some that are still able to give that maximum service, and some of that is because some are still operating at, say, 80% occupancy, which is also why availability is hard and why prices are still relatively high, because of the demand and being able to facilitate that. So the thing what we can do, what can we do about it, because we all know that, but let's move on. What's the solution? So I've come up with some questions perhaps for a corporate to ask a venue in preparation of when their event is about to take place. Say you've got a 24-hour rate, you've got a day meeting, a gala dinner, overnight and breakfast the next day. What is the percentage of agency staff you will have working on my event? That is a perfectly legitimate question to ask a venue. Most venues have agency staff, some have regular agency staff, and that's like the old version of casual waiters or waitresses from my generation of working. And then there are some where there's new agency staff, and those are the ones that won't even know where the loos are or who to perhaps go to for any of the questions that you might need. So that's a really important question that will help keep you prepared beforehand. But also, how fully staffed are you? And if you're not comfortable asking, look at their website, look at venue's website for current vacancies. If they have a list like the one I just showed you, then perhaps have a conversation with them. How relative is it to your event on that 24 hours that you're there? Be proactive. Who is your account manager at the property? We've got account managers, sales managers on here right now from venues. So find out who your account manager is at property if you don't know already, and express any priorities as well as concerns beforehand. So sometimes it's saying, look, that evening dinner is the most important, the food for that, the service, the turnaround, we've got speeches afterwards, we've got awards. that food has to be served at that time. And I know that that's really basic stuff, but we're kind of going back to that a little bit, so that is when all the staff, as many staff as possible, need to be there. How many are working behind the bar? Are you expecting there to be a lot of people drinking, or is it waiter service, with canopies and champagne on trays? How many people are doing that? So that's the kind of thing that could help prepare. Have a meeting with the hotel in person or via Zoom beforehand to run through the events. The more communication you obviously have with the venue, the more time they will obviously be spending on it, and therefore understanding your needs. So don't be afraid to come forward with communicating and spending that time beforehand, which I know is easier said than done, because we're all super busy right now. So to help with that as well, what are your touch points? What is your priority? Where are your concerns? And so do sort of address that, even if it's just for your own use. And then, if you have it in a budget, hire an event manager or freelancer for that evening who can be your right-hand man, or hire them for the lead up to it, to go, look, we just need all this signed off, all these last little bits. Just make sure the hotel's aware or the venue's aware. We all know how quickly those last minute changes happen. If you can be at the event, of course, if you're able to, or have someone from your team or company who is able to oversee. And I know that sounds obvious again, but obviously that will make a difference of running around. And again, it just depends on where the event is, if that's even viable for your company as well. So perhaps if not, then obviously the bits beforehand. So hopefully that sort of helps a little bit. And again, take pictures of any of these slides, and what I call damage limitation on the night or on the day. If there are any issues there, try and deal with it with the event team as soon as you can, and then obviously follow up afterwards, because I appreciate sometimes it becomes a long list, and some things do need to be addressed with a venue afterwards. But if it can be dealt with the night, then usually everybody wants to try and sort it out, so to give you that successful event. So to give you a couple of examples of hotels I've personally stayed at recently, this was the Hyatt Regency in Birmingham. So I've got an outside of a London venue and one just inside. So the Hyatt Regency, 4-star property. So although they're slightly blurry, these two guys here, this was at breakfast, and they were wandering around offering people the smoothies, the orange juice, and then these were warm pain chocolates. And I just sat there and said to my husband, I said, this is where all the staff seem to be, because there were loads of staff at breakfast time, not just clearing and everything being really busy, generally busy anyway, but having the time to walk around with these was just incredible. So we were staying on a personal, we paid for the stay, it wasn't anything, we weren't treated any differently, and we were up there seeing Alanis Morissette actually, but it was incredible. It was calm as well. So I just wanted to give a big shout out to them, and I think that's what I'll do going forward, is sort of giving shout outs of tried and tested, because there's a lot of doom and gloom, of course, and there's a lot of hotels that are getting it right as well. So thank you for that. And then the Grove I stayed at, I did a bit of work for the Grove, so I was able to stay there with my husband again, which was great. So it's so nice to be able to see it on a personal point of view as well. And there is so much there to do for activities, indoor and out. You've got the live kitchens there, the theatre kitchens, so much sustainability as well, which is really topical, which I've covered on some of the other webinars, and we'll do that more going forwards as well. So I just wanted to give a shout out to the Grove at Watford. So that's great for your London events. Obviously not central London, as you can see, but Watford's 20 minutes on the train, and it's just off the M25. So really accessible, 5-star venue. And again, we sat there and I was like, yeah, they've got all the staff here as well, actually. So that's just a couple of venues I really wanted to give a shout out, where I've been able to experience that personally. And then going forward to find more venues and who's out there. Again, take a snapshot of this if it helps. It's all the exhibitions that I'm interested in over the next few months going into next year, with CHS Leeds as well. You've got CHS Birmingham coming up in November. So I've got a code there if people want to apply to be, if you're an agency or corporate buyer, basically a buyer, and you can be either a VIP buyer for the day, or you can stay overnight the night before and be a hosted buyer. So I'll send that with a follow-up where I can as well, so that then you can apply for that, because that's quite a good one. Being in Birmingham as well, nice and central, you'll get a good mixture of lots of venues that you can see. Of course, got the BNC show coming up first, that's the 21st of September, and I sent a link out for that as well on the invitation for corporates to sign up for, if that's of interest. And so I see a lot of people there as well. So that's just a snapshot of some of the events coming up and the new dates. Now we're going into next year as well. So latest trends looking into 2013. I always like to get a bit of, it's all very well me saying what I think is going on with my chats, but you know, here we go with the Victoria Robinson from PwC, who advises firms on adapting to the work from home and hybrid working. And this, again, a lot of this stuff is, we know this already, but it's just nice to see that it's actually being audited in a way, and this is what's being communicated throughout. It is unrealistic and unwise for employers to force workers back to the office full time. This is not a temporary blip, and that more than a fifth of workers are expecting to change jobs in the next year. So there's still a lot of movement. The war for talent has well and truly arrived. Employers are telling us in one of the largest ever surveys of the workforce that what they really want is more flexibility, and that granting that keeps staff happy. In the industry, we know this. It's just nice to see it in writing, and that people are actually taking notice of it. And what does that mean for us is that they've got to get together at some point. So here's what we've been saying for ages. Well, they need to come together for events, and hopefully they'll then come to us, our lovely hotels and venues, to do that. So then more than a third of the UK's office-based workers is still working from home, at least part-time, according to the Office for National Statistics. And yeah, pretty much hardly anybody wants to return 5 days a week. And this is the new normal. So again, it's just hearing it from another source. From an event point of view, Wednesday night has become the new night for after-work drinks, with so many people only in the office on Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Thursdays. And that is definitely what I'm seeing when I'm booking, when I'm venue finding for people. Tuesdays are very popular as well, and sometimes the Monday is as well, because if they can go to an event Monday evening, stay overnight on the Monday, in the office on the Tuesday, depending on where it is. But yeah, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays are those peak times. So again, if people can be flexible with Mondays and Fridays, that's when you're going to get slightly better rates. But I appreciate it depends on where it is and the reason for getting everyone together, and the buy-in from those employees that go, no, I don't want to be somewhere else on a Friday afternoon when I'm normally working from home. So there's a lot of engagement that's needed, and surveys still going on to see when would you come to this event, because then it comes down to the availability as well. So that's back to the planning again. So that's where we are with that. So looking forward as well, so my 6 weeks chunks, which I like to go into. So for the remainder of 22, we know that the September, October, November is now super busy. There's massive high demand. Obviously, some people have had to change dates and things as well with the 19th of September. And we are currently in a chunk, which is until half term, until the 24th of October. That's where we've got the week. And that's like, and you know, I know it changes by area sometimes, the October half term, and then the next 6 weeks chunk will be the 31st of October to the 16th. So that's when anything for Q1 really needs to be finalised. It's always a bit of a scrum just before Christmas, isn't it, to get those last things done, and then we go quiet again over Christmas as decision makers are away. So some people like to see those dates, and then obviously going into next year, there's lots of availability for January, February, March, with lots of hotels. Not all hotels, I know some that are very busy in January. Some have still got the hangover from Omicron last year, because in January, obviously 2022, we were still working from home, and February. So there are some that have got things shifted, but there are a lot that are looking for business January, February, March, because we're kind of working still on a bit of a back step. A lot of people are now concentrating on this last quarter. It's either booked, and so they're now about to run them, and they're thinking about next quarter, but perhaps they haven't booked yet, and a lot of people are going to be doing some last minute bookings again. So that's why that 31st of October to the 16th of December 6 week block, if you haven't got anything booked by then, it really needs to be done by then, because it's going to be a bit of a scrum, and again we'll be stuck for availability again. So if you can put in internal meetings or chats to discuss all the events for next year. I know some people have done that already. I'm working on events. I've got booked events, some events booked for next year already, which is brilliant, but there is definitely a pause at the moment, or or not as fast flowing, perhaps. We're still not quite back to how it used to be. So I think we're still sort of working in these seasonal chunks at the moment. And then 2023, pretty much from what all our discussions are, is the new normal and what we've been waiting for. And one thing I keep saying was 2022 was the rebuild year and 2023 is the settling year. So once we, from January, and the events that take place next year are probably going to be, this is how it's going to be for that company or that venue, and this is what their trends or their new normal or whatever you want to do, whatever you want to call it, that's how it's going to be. So I think we'll all be relieved when we get to that. And just to reiterate that Wednesday nights become the new night for after work drinks. So when we're planning again, even throughout next year, get those key dates in so that then you'll have hopefully maximum people attending those events when you can, as and when you can do that. So just sort of starting to finish off a bit more, we've got about 5 minutes left. How can Park Lane events help? Yes, be part of my network, which you are by the fact that you're here as well. I do not need to be your venue finder if you are a corporate. You might have your own policies, different people that you have to book through or that you like to do. But if people are looking for a venue finder, it is a free service to the event buyer as long as the event goes ahead. I put an admin fee in if the event is cancelled, just to cover the work that I've done. It's not something I did pre-COVID, and that was a huge financial loss because of that. So happy to chat about that to anybody that wants to know about that. But as long as the event goes ahead, it's still free to the event buyer. So what is it? I've had a few people asking me, how does it work? So I've just got quickly 60 seconds. What you have to do is send me your brief for your event, including your budget, your style of venue, location, approximate numbers, layouts, or anywhere you may have held the event before or where you've started brainstorming internally. And on my website, I have a contact form and it's got all those prompts. So it's quite easy to fill that in if that's easier as well. Or obviously email me. I then collate all the quotes into one Park Lane events proposal. So I get those quotes from all the different venues that we might have discussed, so that then the corporate can then scan through and start shortlisting. I'll obviously arrange site visits. If I can, I come on them as well. And then before finalising and arranging the contract, I help negotiate that until the corporate's happy with what they're signing for. Then obviously the event takes place, the client pays the invoice, and then I get the commission percentage post-event. So I wait until the event has occurred. So I'm very happy we're now in this last quarter, which is quite a busy quarter, which is definitely helpful for the business. And yeah, sounds obvious, communication and research is essential. And that this way I save companies time and researching the right venue, and we work as a team. And there's other venue finders on here, they work exactly the same way, and they're probably nodding and things as we speak as well. So that wraps it all up. I've managed to do it in half an hour. Thank you for attending. What happens next? So I am being proactive. I've employed a virtual assistant, a lovely guy called Lee, who has been starting to help me now as of this month, just for sort of the next 3 months to help me with my admin. And one of the things we've been able to do is we've set up dates now for 3 webinars next year. These are the dates. I will send this afterwards with the links, which if you want to make a note, that's when they're going to be. Obviously, if anything near the time suddenly happens and I need to move it, I obviously will. But we've got them in the diary. I've got the Zoom set up, so I'll be able to, you can register for those as soon as you get those if you want to. Then also with the follow-up, just to mention, I'm running the London Marathon on the 2nd of October on behalf of a hospice that my local hospice, my father-in-law passed away 8 years ago. So I'm going to add on a little sponsorship thing. Obviously, these webinars are free. So some people on here have already sponsored me as well. So thank you so much. Do not feel we need to sponsor again, but it will be on the follow-up there. So even if, a couple of pounds or whatever, so just say thank you for the webinar, that can go to the charity. I have to raise £2,000 and I'm up to nearly 1,500. So big thanks to, as I said, to those that have sponsored already. Does anybody have any questions or anything? Obviously you're using the question and answer, and Candice has put on there, you had to really push the importance of service with the onset for your event in November. Lots of communications, lots of briefing and raising concerns. They were really accommodating and appreciated the push. I think that's a really good example. That's exactly it. And thanks so much for writing that, Candice, because that really does show how it works. It can work, and I know that we've just got to, or you've got to put in, whichever side of the fence you're sitting has got to put in that extra work. But it is all about being proactive as much as you can beforehand, and just making sure those other people do, you know, the venues or your agency or however your event manager understands what is the most important thing for your event. What are those touch points? Kate said, highly recommend Lindsay for venue finding. Thank you, Kate, you are a superstar. And John T, fantastic webinar as always. Thank you. So thank you for putting that. Has anybody got any questions? Or Rosie says thank you. Sophia, thank you, Sarah. So brilliant. People will be dropping off, I'm sure, any second. If you do need anything from me, my contact details are here. You've obviously got my contact details by the fact that we're here. So I will send this up as a follow-up as in the next 24 hours. I'm actually going to go and do a run for an hour because I've got to do a run today and I didn't want to try and fit it in this morning. So that way I will decompress, have a little think about the follow-up. Most of it's ready already. And by that time I should get the recording back as well. So thank you so much for everybody that's attended. I massively appreciate it. And hopefully see you at the next one. Hopefully see you in real life soon. I'm so glad we're all back. Back to business now, aren't we, which is fantastic. So take care of yourselves, and I'll see you again soon. Oh, I'll stop sharing actually as well. There we go. Oh, there we go. Brilliant. All right, take care and thank you so much. Bye.